"You're trespassing on HOA property. I'm calling the police right now." That's the line that kicked off everything, shrill and smug, cutting through my morning just as the steam was still curling off my coffee. I glanced up, and there she was, marching toward me like she owned the sidewalk, clipboard brandished like a medieval weapon, khakis still with the store creases, blonde hair pulled so tight it could have been holding her frown in place. Karen Mitchell, Meadowbrook's self-appointed compliance queen, was about to have the worst day of her career. She just didn't know it yet. "Let me tell you, there's something about a person who leads with rules instead of kindness that gets under your skin. You know what I mean?" She stood exactly 42 feet from my property line, glaring at me like she'd caught a criminal, when in reality, she was trespassing herself. But I kept it calm. Years of dealing with city planners and contractors had taught me the one who stays cool usually wins. "Ma'am," I said, setting my mug down slow, "I think you might be a bit confused. This is my land. I've got the deed, the survey. Heck, I can show you the tree my grandfather planted in '73. Marking the original line, if you want." Didn't matter. Karen wasn't interested in history or facts. Her pen jabbed at my house, and out spilled a laundry list of supposed violations. Mailbox not up to code, fence a hair too high, shutters a shade off her palette. Every page she flipped on her clipboard was another performance. She'd spent 8 years enforcing her will on. Neighbors too polite or too tired to argue back, and she was sure I'd cave just like the rest. "You people think you can move in here and ignore our standards," she snapped. "But I know exactly what flies and what doesn't. That, you people, hung in the air. Yeah, that happened." I just smiled, called her Mrs. Mitchell, made it clear I knew her title didn't mean squat on my lot. I told her, straight, "My property predates this development by 15 years, and I'm not under HOA control." Karen's face turned a deeper shade of red. She fished out her phone, ready to call a lawyer. I said, "Go ahead, and by the way, I'll be recording this for my records." Suddenly, her confidence cracked. She stammered about needing permission for recording, but in our state, single-party consent's all you need. And there it was, the first moment she realized her power had limits. "You have 72 hours to comply or we sue," she barked, spinning on her heel and storming off, polo shirt all wrinkled from the effort. I sipped my coffee and watched her march away, not realizing she'd just started a war she couldn't win. I pulled out every document I had, deeds, surveys, letters from the assessor confirming I'd never been in any HOA. That thick manila envelope had been my insurance policy for years, and now it was go time. Sure enough, 3 days later, a courier showed up, embarrassed to hand me a fat envelope threatening fines, lawsuits, and more. Every claim in the letter was either wrong or flat out made up. But it was the tone that got me, written by someone who'd never been challenged, so sure that intimidation was the same as authority. Things escalated fast. Karen started daily patrols, standing on the sidewalk, snapping photos, recruiting other board members to drive by slow, making sure I saw them. Mrs. Carter, the sweet lady 3 houses down, stopped waving. Even the mail carrier left my stuff by the gate, wouldn't make eye contact. My house, my sanctuary, started feeling like a fishbowl, every movement watched, every sound carrying extra weight. That's how intimidation really works. Not fireworks, just a slow grind, stealing your peace one anxious morning at a time. But the more they watched, the more evidence I gathered, license plates, faces, timestamps, all caught on my security cams. Every drive-by, every suspicious pause, became part of my growing file. And as I started digging through county records, it became clear, Meadowbrook's HOA had a habit of reaching far past their borders. Mine wasn't the first property, just the one that pushed back hardest. Then came the second letter, this time hand-delivered by Karen herself. Read, final notice, stamped across the top, deadline in bold, same list of nonsense. The real turning point came one Tuesday. Orange spray paint splattered across my trees and mailbox. Arrows, the word violation, in all caps. It was vandalism, plain and simple, and my cameras caught Karen and her crew sneaking around at dawn, spray cans in hand. That was it. I wasn't just defending my property anymore. I was documenting criminal trespass, vandalism, and harassment. The line had moved. Now I was on offense. I called the sheriff. Deputy Martinez arrived, watched the footage, nodded slow, and said, "This is pretty clear-cut." I filed the report, but didn't press charges just yet. Wanted to see how far they'd go. But let's be real, it got to me. Sleep came in fits. Every car door outside sounded like a threat. Every shadow felt like a setup. I stopped drinking coffee on the porch, the place where this whole mess had started. But underneath the exhaustion, something harder formed. I wasn't going to roll over and let Karen win by attrition. So I hired Laura Pierce, a property law bulldog with a reputation for knocking HOAs down a peg. She took one look at my binder and said, "This is actually straightforward. We'd start with a cease and desist. Give them a chance to retreat before going nuclear." While I waited for the legal gears to turn, I upgraded my security system and documented everything. Karen's little trespassing expeditions, every threatening letter, every social post where she bragged about keeping troublemakers in line. But Karen wasn't letting up. After the board called a meeting and quietly suspended all enforcement against me, she started running her own personal campaign, private inspections, handwritten citations, even walking through yards that didn't belong to her. The twist? It was her own social media that gave us the smoking gun. She'd posted photos and rants about dangerous non-compliant owners, even suggested neighbors should keep an eye on me. The day she crossed into my backyard with a tape measure, I confronted her, told her flat out, "You're trespassing, you need to leave." She doubled down, claimed she was gathering evidence for the city. Deputy Martinez showed up, and within minutes, Karen was in handcuffs, still insisting she had the right to be there. That arrest? It was poetic justice and legal gold. In court, Laura laid out everything. The boundary surveys, letters, videos, police reports, even Karen's wild social posts. Judge Morrison didn't waste time. He granted the restraining order, ordered damages for the vandalism, and, looking Karen dead in the eye, told her she'd abused authority she never actually had. He recommended the board remove her for good, and the state open an investigation. When the dust settled, Karen was out, fired, banned, publicly humiliated. The HOA had to refund fines, hire an outside law firm, and face lawsuits from everyone she'd harassed. The insurance company pulled their coverage, and the whole association collapsed under the weight of her overreach. Neighborhood gossip turned into real change. People apologized, kids played outside again, and the Meadowbrook HOA dissolved for good, replaced by neighbors who'd rather cooperate than control. 6 months later, I could finally enjoy coffee on my porch again. No patrols, no anxiety. Karen's conviction for fraud and harassment stuck. She was forced to pay restitution, do community service, and never serve in any HOA again. She even had to sell her house to cover the settlements. And you know what? The neighborhood got better. Property values didn't crash. People stopped living in fear, and respect finally meant something again. That old oak tree at the corner still stands, roots deeper than ever. Boundaries aren't walls. They're trust, dignity, and the proof that law matters more than loud voices. Bullies thrive when folks are scared or tired, but they crumble when someone stands up and fights. Back with the facts. Looking back, I realized if I'd just paid those bogus fines, it never would have ended. Karen would have found new ways to harass, new victims to squeeze. Instead, that 42-foot line became a symbol, a reminder that the law protects those willing to defend it. And that's the legacy. One property owner with a stubborn streak taking a stand, setting a precedent that stretched far beyond my own backyard. So what would you have done? Ever tangled with an HOA? Or a bully with a clipboard? Drop a comment below. Tell me where you stand on property rights, community rules, and what justice really looks like. Let's get the debate started, because sometimes the only way to protect what's yours is to draw a line, stand your ground, and refuse to move.